Hi, good morning, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 21st. This is the Jupyter Dev meeting. We'll head over to our Dropbox paper notes and start going through work for this week and some of the look at some of the things that we finished last week. So we are still gathering feedback on Dropbox paper. So it looks like there's still some challenges with exporting Markdown for our weekly summary that Matthias is experiencing, and he's still seeing some lag. So folks using it this week, please, if you're experiencing some of the same issues, please go ahead and report that. And let's see, weekly news by, oh, cool. Okay, weekly news by organization. This is new. And Carol, do you mind if I just circle back to you in a minute?
Sure.
On that section? Okay, I just want to, let me get the project management bullets out of the way, and then I'll move up to that. Let's see, important thing I wanted to share with our teams. So we encourage teams to meet outside the semi-annual big dev meetings. So if you're a team that wants to get together, anytime throughout the year, please, feel free to schedule that if you need some face time with each other. We don't have unlimited funding to support this, but we may be able to spot folks here and there, depending on how much you're needing. So keep that in mind. Team leads, work with your team to see if a face-to-face meeting would benefit your work. I know that works great for the Jupyter Lab team in the fall. So for the other teams, go ahead and do that. I can see your fingers, Ian. It's very funny. Okay. All right. Let's see. Question, shall we continue using Dropbox paper next month? Maybe in the chat, you guys can put like a thumbs up or a thumbs down, or at the beginning, actually put it at the bottom of the notes. Okay, Grant, thanks. Cool, okay, thumbs up from Sylvan, thank you. So I'll just aggregate those. I think it's working really well, and we're starting to discover some new features. For example, Steve was able to drop a link to a PR. If you scroll down to the Jupyter Lab section, that's pretty handy. So, I bet there's some other really cool things in here that we haven't seen yet. So it'd be fun to give it another month to test. And if something better comes along, I'm not sure what that would be. Maybe real-time collaboration in Jupyter Notebooks? Maybe. We can move to that. But we're not sure when that's coming yet. So we can stick with Dropbox paper as long as it's working, unless there's something better that folks want to check out. Okay, next thing is, well, I'm working on the annual report this week. So we send out an annual report to each of our funding agencies or funding bodies, our foundations, twice a year, once in the fall and then once in the spring. So, thanks, Carol. Great. Okay, so that's about about all I'm working on this week, because that's going to take some time. So let me circle back to Carol as you're typing. Do you want to touch on this weekly news by organization section?
Just briefly, last week, some folks asked about could we do it, the news that we'd been doing for Jupyter Hub with each of the organizations. So I ran the reports for each of them this week, and it uses the org pulse tool that libraries.io uses. And last week I was at GitHub, and there may be some other maintainer-oriented tools coming along as well. But for now, that's what we got.
Great. This is really useful. It's a really good roll-up of all the work that was done. So this is like a snapshot of everything that occurred over the last week. Is that right? Oh, sorry. Did you nod?
Yes, correct.
Okay, sorry. Oh, it's on a different window. Okay, great. And what's the start date of the week? Monday or Sunday?
it would be as of the last meeting, so 214 to 221.
Okay, cool. Okay, great. So team leads, check that out. You can start incorporating that into your report if you like. It's super useful information. I know that a tool like this exists in some commercial products. So, you know, a lot of commercial products these days pull in a lot of open source tools. And there's something like this in a couple project management and product management commercial tools. So I think this is a really good direction to go in to get a summary of what's been happening over the week. So thanks, Carol. It's great. Okay, let's see. Miscellaneous. Michael Pacer.
I dropped that in there last week, and it's not. We don't need to cover it now, but it's just a couple of weeks ago I wrote a thing to automatically search your config files wherever they happen to be, hooking into the Jupyter path stuff. It's Jupyter conf search. It's now on PyPI, and if people are running into configuration problems, we can point them there. I don't have a very good command line interface figured out yet. So you just need to execute it as a module and then pass in an argument. But, you know, that's fine for now. It gets the job done.
Great. Thank you. Okay. So IPython. Thomas?
Yeah, so just I think the main thing to report is there was a bug or an incompatibility when Prompt Toolkit 1.0.10 came out, and we've fixed that, and I'm hoping to push out a new release of IPython soon because several people have reported that.
Great. Thanks. And if Matthias was here, maybe he would ask questions. He can reach out afterwards if he has any. Okay, let's see. Notebook, Grant, Thomas, and Jason.
Oh, I actually had some questions about IPython that relate to NVConvert, but are IPython. So Matisse and I and some others were talking, and one of the things that seems to be missing in general from the notebook from a sort of publishing point of view is the ability to attach captions to output figures. And one of the suggested solutions to this from Matthias was creating a figure class in IPython itself that then the notebook would know how to intelligently display, but in which case we would have the metadata stored as part of the object itself, which could include the caption, which then NVConvert could link into. He'd said that there'd been some discussion about this. Had there been any forward movement when I'd looked for it? I couldn't see too much. Does anyone know anything about this, or am I just sounding like someone who's talking about things that don't actually exist?
I think it never got further than discussion. I don't think there's any code for it.
Okay.
I have a vague sense that Fernando might have prototyped something. I know he was exploring options. I don't remember if he actually built a prototype or just described what it might look like.
Okay. Is that discussion on GitHub, or is that something that's in all of your brains because it was in person?
It was a long time ago. I know that.
Fair enough.
It might have been on GitHub somewhere.
Okay, I'll look for it. And if anyone has any ideas about how that would be implemented or what sort of features or anything, I'm going to start looking at that. So keep in touch.
I'd say with the current trend of things, custom MIME type, it seems to be the way such things tend to be going. And then you could have, a field for the image data, a field for the caption, that kind of thing. The way it probably would have been implemented before was a multiple representation thing where a figure would have maybe an HTML representation that's an HTML rendering and then a LaTeX representation.
And
but that gets
Oh, but the idea being that by using a custom MIME type, what you do is you just establish what this is, rather than having to encode separately what all of these interpretations are. It's just, this is a thing, and then all the things that need to read it in some way or another know how to appropriately read it.
Yeah, you're basically saying that the front ends should be told the front ends should need to be told somehow how to interpret this information rather than trying to construct all of that in the kernel in a way that's going to work everywhere.
Okay, this is good. Thank you.
All right. So,
I think essentially we're pushing semantic information over to the front end, and the front end is doing smart rendering instead of trying to render everything on the kernel side.
That makes sense.
okay, did you get your question answered there, Mike? You ready to move to the next section?
I'm getting some weird microphone behavior over here. I'm probably going to have to leave and rejoin. I've been saying, like, thank you, and that sounds like it makes a lot of sense. If no one heard me saying that, I'm sorry.
Okay, I just didn't want to cut you off. Let's see here. The next section, we've got Notebook, Grant, Thomas, and Jason.
Thomas or even Mike, or sorry, Grant, you're here. Never mind. Go ahead. We can't hear you.
So I can try talking. I think you can hear me.
Yep.
So we're closing in on Notebook 5.0. We have a beta 1 out for people to test. You can install that from PyPI. There's a few usability issues that Brian highlighted when he looked over it. So we're going to try and clear those up. And there's a question from a Pandas developer who'd like us to change something in the new default table style.
Okay. Looks like Brian made a note that he'll look at this later today. All right, cool. So it looks like there's some eyes on it. That's good. Did anybody have any feedback here on the call? Off the cuff.
Just finding little things and fixing them.
Yeah. Okay. All right. The usability issues milestone for 5.0 are listed there. Great. Mike, did you join us?
I'm rejoined, I think.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yep.
So a lot of my time last week was spent on not NB-convert stuff, but Thomas, I merged in Thomas's custom script exporter. Looks good. Don't know if anyone's actually tried to use it yet, but I know IR kernel is what to keep an eye out for there. But in terms of NB-convert, that's the main thing that happened.
Cool. All right, services. Pete.
Yeah, so lots of notes this week.
Great.
Someone actually contributed a pull request to Docker Stacks to add tidyverse to the R containers there, which is great. I didn't even know that was a common package. There was just a tidyverse package, so that's really cool. Kernel Gateway, I started testing against Notebook 5. There's a handful of things that need to be fixed for compatibility. Someone offered to contribute a idle kernel color directly to Kernel Gateway, but I redirected that conversation to Notebook itself because I think that's something Min had mentioned why they add the Notebook based on the new activity tracking API. And if that's the direction we want to go, and I'm in favor of that, I think with Kernel Gateway 2.0, we can make a breaking API change and take out the activity API that we had implemented over there in favor of just using the one for Notebook. I don't see a reason why we need to have two separate APIs. That's it for that section. I think about the next one. I sort of inserted this. I hope that's okay. Since it's related to Notebook 5, I also started testing the various dashboard extensions related to that. most of them, the most important one, the dashboard layout extension, the only two issues I hit were installing it, which was probably bad on us how we implemented a quick setup for install of these extensions. Some base classes moved around, but it's a simple fix and it's backwards compatible. And I think there was like one CSS styling change that was causing the little left sidebar of cells to show up in the dashboard mode, but otherwise it worked fine with 5.0. So that was great news. I was dreading having to dig into some nasty CSS, but it mostly just worked. And then the other ones there, the bundlers extension, packing up a dashboard for deploy on the dashboard server. It can now start using the bundler API, which went into master a while ago. So it doesn't even need a third extension on here anymore. It can just work directly with Notebook 5. And I think, I put this in the notes, so when it reaches the mailing list, people can chime in, but I think we want to take the opportunity of this release to get rid of the old deploy local dashboard option that was in there using the theme that we marked deprecated almost a year ago, I believe. It's probably time to pull it. I doubt it even works anymore with the latest IPy widgets, so a little note for the mailing list there. And the CMS extension, which is the one that does search and also had the bundlers, we can now remove the bundler API from that if we're happy saying people need to use Notebook 5 and up to get that, or an older release of the content management extension. Again, it's in the notes in case someone who's working on an older version of Notebook and wants to keep using the extension, can chime in and say, please don't remove it, or go ahead. A lot of Notebook 5 testing, that's what it amounts to.
Thank you. That's a lot of stuff.
I'll stop now.
No, it's great. It's great. Sounds like you're getting a lot done. Fantastic. All right. So moving on to Jupyter Lab, Stephen Darian.
Hi. So right now we are working on migrating to Phosphor 1.0, which is the PR that Steve actually put in the document. And it's going to look a little scarier than it actually is. It'll be a lot of line changes, but it's all fairly mechanical stuff. It's just the new packages that Phosphor has. And before we started on that, in the last week, we did a lot of beta bug fixes. Some of them that have been quite long-standing, they're gone. And also, Steve did a pretty substantial refactor of the way RenderMime works and the way that the models that the notebook uses are structured, and standardized a lot of things. And in fact, we have a new pattern that we want to apply across the board, where basically things that take models will have an iModel interface specified in their widget namespace. So say you are creating a foo widget and it's sophisticated enough to not just have data attributes on it, you actually want it to have a model. Then you create a namespace called foo widget, and inside it you have an iModel interface. And we just want to have conventions that are sort of predictable across the board. And we were kind of being haphazard with models, so this is what we've landed upon. So hopefully by sometime this week, and certainly whatever our next release number is going to be, we're going to be using Phosphor 1, and some of the churn may calm down. That's it.
All right. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody has any questions, feel free to ask them now. Otherwise, we will move on to IPy widgets with Jason and Sylvan, plus Brian and Cameron, who are not here today.
Sylvan, you want to go ahead?
We have been closing the last issues that were for the milestone 6.0, lots of small CSS polishing, and there was a big UI review by Brian and Cameron that turns out to be really nice, and necessitated some small fixes after we merged it. So it's already all visible on the read the docs rendering and the NB viewer, so you can check it out. Hopefully we will release candidate today and probably announce it tomorrow because I mean we need to work on the announcement. And besides that, we have created a Jupyter widgets organization that will be the recipient for the sub-projects of widgets. So there are lots of these, IPy widgets, Jupyter.js widgets, widgets in the extension, the lab extension, the widget schema, the cookie cutter, the Sphinx extension, maybe trait types. And so I also wanted to give a heads up to people who work on declarative widgets. Maybe this would be they would be nice for this project to be moved in this organization. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, so can I just repeat back what you just said? You created a new Jupyter widgets org in GitHub?
That's right.
Okay.
So widgets is going through a big split, just like the notebook some time ago. And there are 1, 2, 3, 6, 8 sub projects.
Yes.
So yeah, that will land there. And I also wanted to ask whether people who know about it think it's a good time to elect the trait types repo to be a core Jupyter thing in the Jupyter widgets org. So the trait types repo is a Jupyter incubator project that has trait types for SciPy types.
No.
Maybe Min has an opinion. I don't know.
Seems fine.
No big whoop. Okay. Let me just say that I think that the creation of the new org is worth advertising beyond the dev meeting. So if we could get a mailing list post to let our community know, and also add that to the next newsletter, I think it's worthwhile to communicate to the community when we create new orgs. I spoke with somebody from GitHub a couple weeks ago now, and he said that they're working on supporting more levels within the GitHub hierarchy in each org. So this may mean that at some point we can bring all the different Jupyter orgs back together under one heading. Because I know it's really important to be able to have more nested relationships within our projects. It's also harder for folks to track what's going on with the project when we have like this smattering of orgs. But it makes sense, right, to continue to build out orgs when you need more levels to keep track of your code and projects. Just keep in mind that may be coming down the pipeline in GitHub and another level to keep track of the work. So hopefully we'll be able to kind of wrap things back into the Jupyter org, so all our projects are back under one umbrella.
If there is any process in terms of ownership of organization and setting up apps that we need to do in case of the creation of a new organization, I would love to know.
Yeah, I think Min or Carol, or do we have a?
I think we need to figure out. I know Sylvan had sent something to one of the mailing lists about which repos should get moved over, and I think probably what we need to do is reach some consensus that. I mean, I think personally, all things that are related to widgets should be under Jupyter widgets, but I don't know how that works for IPyWidgets since it's been in the IPython repo. But I think before we do the mailing list broadcast to everybody, I think we should get most of the stuff moved over first. But I think it's a great idea, Sylvan.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, same here. I'm not saying you did anything wrong. I think it's great to be able to pile all the like repos into an org, because otherwise it's just too unwieldy to keep track of everything. So it's just can be hard to keep track of all the orgs after they're created. Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, thanks so much, Sylvan. What else? Jupyter Hub, Min and Carol.
Yeah, not a lot of exciting developments. A few improvements and cleanups and things. I've been working mostly on testing tools for some of the authenticator stuff so that we can feel a little bit more confident that they're doing the right thing. But I've been getting ready for traveling, so I haven't made huge amount of progress myself, but I've been also having some conversations about the hub shared design that we'll probably be doing a lot of prototyping on while I'm in Berkeley, which
Great.
is soon now.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to having you here. Should be fun and productive. And Carol too.
And then the other thing is we did get somebody filing an accessibility issue on Jupyter Hub, and rereading back through it, actually a lot of it has more to do with the notebook and Jupyter Lab and how somebody who is visually impaired could navigate through the notebook with a text-to-speech. So I dropped a testing link in there. There's also more information on 18F, but at some point we probably should do some comprehensive project on accessibility. And I don't know where that fits in with Notebook and Jupyter Lab, but it's something that government folks are going to definitely ask for.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. We do have, so the Data 8 folks are looking into accessibility issues, not issues, but accessibility around the notebook. So there will be a test here on, I think it's March 6th. I think we have a blind individual who's going to be going through the notebook and is going to try to navigate different parts of it. So we're trying to get that recorded to make available to the team. So if you're interested in participating in that, I can try to add you as an attendee. Either if we're able to broadcast it, we may be able to add a number of folks remotely, or we can share the video with you afterwards. So great. Okay, conferences and outreach. This looks outdated. JupyterCon speaker outreach for JupyterCon has begun.
Yes, it has.
Oh, okay. So this is for next year?
That was from last week. I don't know that anybody updated it.
Okay, great.
How did the office hours and everything go? Carol, thanks for doing a lot of that.
They were quiet, but there were, a few people, and thank you to Pete and Steve for pitching in. Most of the speaker outreach will have more of an impact next year versus this year, but, continuing to have the word out on Twitter and passing it on our networks are going to be important, and just encouraging people when they have a question, submit a talk. You never know. So thanks, everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see. Call for proposals for SciPy opened the week before last, I believe, and registration opens next week. We've got PyData Amsterdam coming up and PyData London coming up in May. Great. So these are the action items that Ian jotted down. Mike is scheming about an IPython class notebook metadata field that holds caption information for figures. Ping him with ideas or prior art. Fernando, there's a note for Fernando about a question from Mike. And then let's see, would the declarative widgets project like to be part of the new Jupyter widgets org? That's a good question. And then Thomas, it looks like you put down miscellaneous 2.
Yeah.
Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I wrote some kernel machinery in Rust as a weekend hacking project. It's not a Rust kernel. It doesn't run Rust code for the user, but it's kernel machinery in Rust. So that may be useful to someone at some point, or it may not, but it was fun.
Hey, Thomas, did you look at Zeus and the structure that we did there in terms of...
Did you get an answer?
Yeah, he said no.
Oh, I didn't hear that at all. Okay. I guess I got to read lips. Cool. All right. Thanks, Thomas. All right, so releases this week. Let's see, was released Jupyter Client 5.0, NB format 4.3. Should be released soon, IPython 5.3, NB Dime 0.2, IPyWidget 6.0. We'll have a release candidate out in the next day or two. When I say we, I mean Jason and Sylvan. Jupyter JS widgets 2.1 and widgets NB extension 2.0, the Jupyter widget schema. Also, we have in beta testing notebook 5.0.0 B1 or beta 1. And that's all for the releases. Let's see. Everybody's liking the Dropbox, so really happy to see that. Good. Let's keep using it. It's working. That's my vote. Great. Okay. I like seeing all those thumbs up. Great. Does anyone have anything they'd like to add? Anyone else have anything they'd like to add? I know some folks aren't part of the usual run through on the notes, but please feel free to speak up now. You have anything you'd like to share with the community?
I have a quick question. Are the Dropbox paper notes being archived anywhere other than Dropbox paper, like in a GitHub repo somewhere or something?
Not currently. No. So what I've been doing with the notes as we've been experimenting with new platforms is dropping the link into our HackPad notes. So at least folks who are used to going to HackPad can link out to Etherpad and Dropbox paper. But I do like the idea. So here's the question that came up. Which set of notes do we archive? Do we archive the notes from the meeting that we created or the notes that were posted on the mailing list?
Good point.
Yeah.
Matthias's summary is archived because it's on the mailing list, and that's sort of an official archived thing in the project.
Right. Sense. Yeah. So that's kind of the direction that we're heading in terms of archiving. We can also put those in GitHub if seems like we need to do that. Okay. Any other questions, comments, announcements? Everybody had a good 3-day weekend, except for the folks who didn't have one. I had a good one. All right, great. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks, Internet. We'll see y'all next week.